She stood in front of the cameras, her hands trembling, not from fear, but from years of silence breaking at once. Behind her, the world of Sister Wives was already falling apart, but no one expected this. Mykelti's words didn't just expose her father's truth, they rewrote it. Every smile, every promise suddenly felt like a performance for the world to see. If there are conditions for love, she said quietly, then perhaps it never was love at all. Do you think love is ever able to survive when trust is broken within a family? The room was silent, too silent for a family once filled with laughter, arguments, and the pandemonium of 18 children. In this silence, one voice at last rose, not in anger, but in truth. Mykelti Brown, the daughter long known for brokering peace in the midst of her father's tantrums, had something to say. And this time, there weren't cameras rolling for entertainment's sake, they were rolling for closure. The Sister Wives universe has witnessed quite some heartbreak. Wives exiting, children turning sides, and Kody Brown standing up for his definition of love again and again. But this was something else. This was his daughter, one who spent her life standing up for him, now pulling back the veil he never wanted anyone to see. I thought his love was unconditional, she said in an interview, but I learned there were always strings attached. Her words fell with a soft impact, every syllable cutting deeper than any courtroom admission. For viewers who had watched this family for more than a decade, it wasn't merely another bombshell. It was the moment the emotional fabric of the Brown family tore apart. For good. So why did Mykelti finally speak up? To know, you must look back to the times when Kody's word was law, when Christine smiled through the agony, and when the children were instructed that harmony was holy, even at the cost of silence. It was not easy growing up in a house where 4 mothers lived. Every dinner was a sitting together of unseen emotions, jealousy, love, resentment, all around the same table. And yet, the children learned young to conceal it, because their father always told them family means loyalty. Mykelti was the kid who tried to believe him hardest. She was in awe of his bravado, his command, the way he could dispel chaos with a mere word. But when she got a little older, she began seeing a pattern, one that crushed her mother's heart before crushing hers. Kody's love didn't flow the same. It went around those who followed, those who respected his idea of right and wrong. Mykelti experienced it first with Christine, her mom. How love cooled off once she started questioning his decisions. Dad didn't care for being challenged, Mykelti once explained, and when Mom began standing up for herself, that's when things shifted. She saw the distance increase, not only between her parents, but between Kody and all those who wouldn't give in to his dictate. Years went by, and Mykelti attempted to maintain harmony, hoping that love was strong enough to cover over any damage. But love in the Brown family came with strings attached. Approval was needed. Respect had to be demanded, not merely granted. And affection. It all depended on where you were standing. Then there was Christine's moment of reckoning, the day she packed her bags and abandoned Flagstaff. Mykelti recalls the stillness that ensued, the silence that weighed more than any fight. The family group chat ceased buzzing. Holidays became court orders, attendance voluntary, emotions obligatory. Kody dubbed it betrayal. Christine dubbed it freedom. And in the middle, Mykelti simply called it confusion. She attempted to remain impartial, splitting her time between both parents. But impartiality in a family constructed upon tests of loyalty was tantamount to treason. Kody craved affirmation. Christine craved empathy. Mykelti simply wished for peace. When mom left, she spoke quietly. I figured things would improve. But rather, it was like Dad wished for me to make a choice. But love isn't supposed to have choices, is it? Each daughter craves the approval of her father. But what if that approval comes with strings attached? The breakthrough came in silence. No shouting, no cameras. Just a father-daughter sit-down that shifted everything. Mykelti challenged Kody to release the bitterness, to be kind to Christine. But instead of mending, the conversation reopened all the scars. Kody had accused her of disrespect. Mykelti sensed the change, the emotional space she'd witnessed before between him and her mother, now developing between him and herself. For the first time, she understood love in her father's universe was not unconditional. It was transactional. It was then that she chose silence was no longer protection. It was complicity. So she spoke, not out of revenge, not for the attention, but for truth. And when she did, it wasn't just a family matter anymore. It became a national conversation about loyalty, control, and emotional. She didn't just speak against her father. She spoke for every child who's ever loved someone who made them choose. The world listened. Fans debated. The Brown family retreated. But inside Mykelti's heart, the decision was made. She could no longer defend a man who confused power with love. As she breathed in deeply, before speaking publicly, one thing flashed in her mind, a thing she carried with her for years but never had the courage to voice. Sometimes, she stated, you have to lose a parent to find your peace. And that was when everything shifted, because what she next exposed wasn't all about Kody. It was all about what exactly happened when the family attempted to quiet her truth. What she said afterwards would blow the foundation of all that Kody said he stood for. The day Mykelti publicly spoke, something within the Brown family changed forever. It wasn't another interview. It was a storm disguised as confession. Cameras caught her calm face, but behind her eyes, you could see years of pent-up emotion finally overflow. Kody Brown was always the control man, the father who had a voice for everyone, the husband who explained every move as God's plan. But this time, his own daughter was challenging not only his decisions, but his integrity. When Mykelti's words aired, the reaction was instant. The family group chat lit up like a courtroom under fire. Some siblings supported her, others warned her to delete the post before things got worse. And somewhere in Flagstaff, Kody was watching the same video, jaw tight, breathing heavy, trying to process what he just heard. Dad, Mykelti had said in that video, you taught us loyalty, but perhaps you forgot that obedience isn't the same as loyalty. The web went crazy. Fans speculated about whom she was talking. But for the family, there was no doubt. She was addressing her dad directly. In that moment, the quiet daughter became the family's loudest voice, and silence was no longer an option. Within hours, he called her. His voice wasn't angry, cold and controlled, the way he talks when he's already made up his mind, and he's right. He told her she was being influenced, that Christine had poisoned her mind. Mykelti listened, but didn't dispute. She knew better than to argue with Kody. It was like yelling into a hurricane. It just made the thunder more loud. But beneath the surface, something else was seething. Mykelti had saved receipts, old texts, voicemails, and private memos that told a very different story from the one Kody presented on TV. In one of the years-old messages, he'd written, if you can't respect me, then maybe you don't need to be part of this family's inner circle. Those words had tormented her for years because respect, in Kody's universe, always seemed one-sided. When Christine learned that her daughter was prepared to talk openly, she was conflicted. You don't owe anyone your pain, she cautioned, but Mykelti refused. No, Mom, she replied. I owe it to myself to be honest. That honesty soon became the focus of what fans now refer to as the Brown family divide. Janelle remained quietly in her corner. Mary remained aloof. Robin, Kody's remaining wife, was outraged. She accused Mykelti of manufacturing drama for sympathy, that she was damaging her father's reputation. But as Robin talked, the fissures deepened. For the first time, people began to wonder, was Kody a victim of a fractured family, or the mastermind behind it? Sometimes the most hurtful truth isn't the one spoken, it's the one everyone already knows, but won't say. Kody chose to speak with Mykelti in person. He asked to see her alone at a tiny family property they had used for filming. Those, she agreed, on one condition, Christine could accompany her. As soon as he heard that, Kody's tone grew icy. If she's there, he said, then this isn't a discussion, it's an ambush. But Mykelti refused to back down. Maybe that's what honesty looks like to you, she said. When they got together, it wasn't a reunion. It was a test of wills. No judge, no attorneys, but every sentence had the force of testimony. Kody went first, pacing, his hands flying as he explained himself. I did all I could to keep this family together, he said. You don't know how much pressure that was. Mykelti regarded him calmly. Dad, you kept us together with fear, not love. His teeth clenched. The silence that followed was oppressive. Christine remained silent, her eyes filled with tears, as if she recognized this conversation wasn't hers to repair. And then, just when things couldn't shatter anymore, Mykelti uttered the one thing he never thought he'd hear. QB's odd. She dug through her purse and produced a folded, tiny piece of paper, a letter she wrote when she was 16. In it, she had pleaded with Kody to come to her school, play Lyle, the one he had missed because he was filming. She'd held that letter for years, never mailing it, never showing it, until today. Hey, she placed it in his hands. I wanted you to see what love looked like before it learned to hide. Kody unfolded the letter, his hands trembling slightly. For the first time, his voice cracked. I didn't know you felt this way, he whispered, but Mykelti did not soften. That's the point, Dad. You never asked. The room dropped into a stillness heavy with years of unspoken words. That was when Kody came to understand that this wasn't merely one daughter speaking up. It was every single individual he'd ever silenced in the name of love. And what Mykelti uncovered next would not only reveal the truth about her dad's control, it would unveil secrets even Christine had hidden away. Because the next revelation wouldn't just channel Kody's version of love, it would ruin his version of truth. That evening after their altercation, the silence between father and daughter was its own form of punishment. Mykelti sat by herself in her living room, surrounded by baby toys and memories that suddenly seemed far away. She had told the truth, but the price was greater than she had realized. Social media was already on fire. Footage of her testimony was going viral, each title more sensational than the previous. Mykelti uncovers Kody's manipulation. Daughter reveals emotional manipulation. But behind each headline was a family that was literally breaking apart in real time. Christine phoned her late that night. Her tone was weary, but level, the kind of weariness that results from years of attempting to keep people together who no longer wish to be kept. So, you did what I couldn't, she murmured. You confronted him. But Mykelti wasn't triumphant. She felt empty because love, true love, was never ever meant to feel like a battle. Sometimes the loudest sound in a family isn't shouting, it's the silence after someone finally tells the truth. By morning, the damage was done. Kody had issued his own public statement. He called the interview hurtful, accused Christine of turning the children against him, and said Mykelti's words were taken out of context. It was the same defense he had used for years: blame, deflect, justify. But this time, something cracked. Janelle's son Logan quietly liked Mykelti's post on Instagram. Then Isabel commented with a single heart emoji. One by one, small gestures of solidarity started appearing online. The narrative was shifting. For the first time, the story wasn't being told by Kody. It was being told about him. And that loss of control was something he couldn't bear and owned. In private, Robin attempted to do damage control. She pleaded with him to call privately, to apologize, to be humble in some way before the media made it worse. But Kody wouldn't budge. If I apologize, he insisted, it'll make me look guilty. Robin's eyes brimmed with tears. Maybe you already are, she whispered. The rift was now unavoidable. When pride becomes more important than people, even love can't survive it. Days later, Mykelti revealed something no one expected. Private voice messages Kody had left her years ago during a family argument. His tone was cold, dismissive, filled with phrases like, you don't know what loyalty means, and you should be grateful. I've done so much. The recording leaked on the internet, and the fans were no longer speculating. They heard the control, the tension, the conditional love in his voice. The world that once idolized Kody Brown as the man who could love 4 women equally, was now hearing the voice of a father unable to love one daughter without conditions. It landed hard, and it landed close to home. Chrissy remained quiet publicly, but in private she cried, not because Mykelti revealed Kody, but because her daughter had borne that hurt in secret for so long. Kody, meanwhile, was angry. He accused Mykelti of betrayal, of weaponizing intimate moments, but even he knew the tale was no longer his to tell. You can't bury the truth forever, because the people you silence will one day become your witnesses. Nar. Another episode of Sister Wives came on that week. It was produced months earlier than the blow-up, but viewers now viewed every scene differently. Every uncomfortable smile, every uneasy hug, every time Kody cut off one of his wives, it all seemed like proof. Comment sections were filled with one question from viewers: was this family ever real? And somewhere, between the editing and the reverberations, Mykelti was at last getting to speak up. But the tale didn't conclude with her discovery. During a livestream Q&A, a viewer asked whether she thought her father ever loved her mother. Mykelti paused, a silence that conveyed more than words ever could. And then she replied softly, perhaps he did at one time, but I think he loved the picture of us more than he loved who we were. That statement spread quickly overnight. The quote went viral on social media like a verdict, because at the end of the day, everyone knew she wasn't only referring to Kody, she was referring to every individual who gets control mixed up with care. And then came the twist nobody anticipated. Just as soon as the dust started settling, Mykelti got a direct message from someone within the family. It was brief, just 3 words. He's not done. She stood there frozen. The message was unsigned, but the timing sent shivers down her spine. Hours passed, and tabloids teased a new sit-down interview, one in which Kody swore to set the record straight and get to the bottom of his daughter's deception. The war of words wasn't done. It was just starting, because Kody's next step wouldn't only come to his defense, it would spill secrets. Mykelti never knew. The day Kody released his tell-all, the air in the Brown family was as thick as before a storm. Everyone knew what was on its way. Another grab for the story, another attempt to frame his pain as righteous, but no one anticipated how far he would take it. The interview opened with him sitting stiff-backed, hands clasped, eyes cold. "I'm not the villain here," he said. "I'm a father trying to protect what's left of his family." His words sounded steady, but the tremor in his jaw betrayed something deeper: fear. Fear of losing not just reputation, but control. For so long, silence had been Kody's code for loyalty, but now his silence was used against him, silenced by the voice of his daughter's truth. When the interviewer asked, "Did you ever withhold love in order to enforce obedience?" he hesitated a moment too long. His eyes darted away. "I've always given love in exchange for respect," he said. That one sentence became the headline, because when love requires payment, it's no longer love, it's a deal. Christine followed the broadcast alone in her kitchen. The voice she once knew was now unfamiliar. On the defensive, Janelle texted her during the interview, "He's digging deeper." And Mykelti, she didn't even watch live. She waited until morning. When the clips took over her feed, one of the videos she'd seen had caught her ear, Kody remarking, "Some people live on victimhood." The remark wasn't aimed, but everyone knew to whom it was directed. Mykelti let out a sudden breath. For an instant, she'd thought about saying nothing for a second time, but the familiar pain in her chest reminded her why she had said something in the beginning. She took one sentence to her social media story that afternoon: "Victims don't want pity, they want peace." It traveled faster than any news headline. Supporters referred to it as poetic justice. Kody termed it manipulation. And in a snap, the Brown family, bound together in some weird form of faith and love, was standing like witnesses in a trial by public opinion, each with his or her own version of the truth. Robin collapsed in tears, insisting that Kody's just misunderstood. Mary remained largely silent, her expression inscrutable, as though she'd fought and lost this war a long time ago. But the emotional burden fell on Mykelti. She wasn't trying to bring down her father. She was trying to break free from him. She sat with Christine that night, observing the Arizona sunset dissolve into the horizon. "He's still my dad," she whispered. "I just don't know who he is anymore." Christine squeezed her hand. "Perhaps this is who he always been. You just finally stopped making excuses for him." Sometimes healing isn't about forgiveness. It's about confronting the person who won't change. When the next episode aired a few days later, producers on TLC added unseen scenes. Kody striding around the Flagstaff compound, talking under his breath about betrayal, Robin sobbing behind the camera. Fans sensed it. The charismatic man of a few months ago now appeared cornered. The backlash wasn't dramatic, it was silent, eerie. A father too late, catching on that the walls he had constructed to maintain his dominance had excluded his children's hearts. And then there was the confession. At the very end of the interview, Kody bent his head and whispered, "Perhaps I was tougher on some kids than others. Perhaps I did not understand how to love them the way they deserved." The silence that followed spoke volume. Even the strongest walls come tumbling down when truth finally makes its way in. That confession hit the family like an earthquake. Too late to restore, too fresh to ignore. Christine wept when she heard it. Janelle called it the closest thing to accountability we'll ever get. And Mykelti, she didn't weep. She just sat quietly, mouthing, "That's all I ever wanted him to say." But as the screen went to black, the network teases one last clip, Kody staring directly into the camera with a shaky grin. "Don't believe everything you hear," he said. "There are things even my family doesn't know." Because the truth he threatened wasn't forgiveness, it was another secret waiting to surface. Ewe, Worm moaned. Weeks went by, and the storm started to recede. But storms never do end up. It just shifts to calmer skies. For the first time in a long time, Mykelti experienced a peculiar sense of calm. She had talked, been disbelieved, and yet somehow heard. Kody stayed aloof. No apology to the public, no makeup, just silence, the sort that lingers in a room long after the quarrel has ended. Yet, something was different. Mykelti began posting family moments online once more, photos of her children, dinners with Christine, laughter that didn't ring false. It was understated but significant. She was recapturing happiness, one post at a time. Christine, too, began to radiate in a manner she hadn't in years. "Well, peace is louder than drama," she said in a live stream to a fan, "and it's the only thing worth fighting for." At the same time, viewers wondered endlessly if Kody and his kids would ever come together. But his closest friends and family understood it wasn't reunion. It was acceptance. Sometimes you don't get the ending you wanted, you get the peace you needed. During the season finale, TLC aired a quiet montage. Old footage of the Browns laughing around campfires faded into present-day scenes. Separate lives, new beginnings. The narrator's voice asked softly, "Can love survive after truth?" Mykelti's interview played last. She spoke gently, no bitterness, no performance. "I don't hate my dad," she said. "I just finally love myself enough to stop trying to earn his love." That line silenced living rooms around the country. Viewers were saying, "This isn't drama anymore, it's healing." Even those who had previously stood up for Kody came to realize that unconditional love doesn't equate to infinite pain. Robin stuck with Kody, loyal but tired. Janelle saw Christine more frequently. The family, while broken, seemed to have discovered a new groove, a quiet distance filled with honesty rather than denial. Families don't break. They reshape around the people strong enough to tell the truth. Late one evening, after the cameras stopped rolling, Mykelti came across that old, unread letter again. She folded it carefully and tucked it into a box of mementos. It wasn't a reminder of hurt now. It was evidence of growth. She spoke softly, "Thank you, Dad, for teaching me what love shouldn't feel like." There was no rage, only release. As credits rolled at the end of the last episode, the show's signature music played slower, more subdued, a farewell to an era grown larger than its own illusion. The camera panned over Christine's house in Utah, sunlight pouring through the windows. A new life, free of control. Then the final narration line, the moral pulse of the entire saga. Love built on fear will always collapse, but love built on truth can rebuild anything. And with that, the screen went black. Do you believe unconditional love exists anymore after trust has been broken? Tell us in the comments below, because sometimes your voice is the ending that completes the story. La ya la ya la nun.